Wonderful. Hi, everybody on Zoom. We are so sorry that you all have not been able to hear us. We can only imagine the frustration levels. Know that we literally paused everything to try and fix it. And it is fixed. So, hi, I am Betty. My pronouns are she, her. I am the president of the Colorado Theater Guild, and we are going to go back to the beginning, quickly go through the things that you all missed because of no fault of your own. And I'm going to turn it over to Steve Wilson right now.
All right, Steve Wilson, he, him. Where you want to start at the first slide?
Yeah, I think we should.
All right, well, that was your slide.
It's all me. Okay, great. So hi, everybody. Welcome.
What are we doing?
We are here. Welcome to the first annual Unified Auditions Workshop. Our goal is to make sure that you know what's going on so that you can be best prepared for the workshop. Something that I said to the live audience that you couldn't hear is that this is our first time doing it, and we are fully embracing both our successes and our failures. As artists, you know that that is a part of the creative process, and we are no different. So welcome and hello. But it's true. Christy Montour Larson did a beautiful opening in the beginning. You didn't get to see any of it. This is me giving you warm Christy Montour Larson vibes.
She'll be back later in the show.
Also, please know that we are recording all of this. I have no idea what of the recording could be heard from before, so I'm going to presume that none of it could be. So we cover it now, and then we'll just edit it before we release it, so you will have access to it in the future. Christy is the artistic producer at Curious Theater. She's also a freelance director. Her pronouns are she, her. Steve is the executive artistic director at Center Stage. He's also a freelance director, an actor, and he is also a CTG board member. He is the chair of the Unified Auditions Committee. I am a co-artistic director at Local Theater Company, the president of the Colorado Theater Guild, an actor, and a freelance director as well. I hear myself. Okay. All right. So here we go. This is a first of its kind. The goal was to be able to bring producers and directors from around the state and actors from around the state to be able to see all of the incredible talent. One of the things that I have found in Colorado is that Springs actors don't necessarily travel to Boulder, and Boulder actors don't necessarily travel to Denver, and Denver actors don't necessarily travel to the mountains, though there are some of us who do, and yet there are lots of opportunities. And so our hope was simply to allow more people to get to experience just a wealth of talent that's here. Also, even as evidenced in this room and online, there are an awful lot of incredible artists who moved to Colorado during the pandemic, and you haven't all been exposed to everybody yet because of that pathogen that kept us all inside. So it's a way for us all to get to meet new talent, be reminded of talent that's been here all along. A lot of people were developing skills during those 3 years that we haven't gotten to experience. So this is an opportunity for more people to get that experience. It is open to both union and non-union actors, which is not true of all unified auditions. We're really excited to be able to have everyone in the room. And unlike most auditions where union actors are one slot and non-union actors are another slot, this is Colorado, where you literally go to auditions and you're auditioning up against people who are both union and non-union. And so the unifieds are the same way. So one person can be union, the next person will be non-union, and so on and so forth. All of those things are true. And of course, the unified auditions are going to be happening here at the beautiful Curious Theater Company. One of the things that we are encouraging people to do on Sunday, there's a lot of available free parking. On Mondays, there's less available free parking. So please, please, please give yourself ample amounts of time so that you will not get that stress of not being able to find parking and not being able to make it during your slot. Speaking of slots, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and then I'll cover the requirements in a moment.
Sure. Yeah. Slots, we're going to be scheduling 14 to 16 actors each hour. So we're not doing individual slots. We're going to do hour slots. We hope that will be more flexible. We hope that will keep us moving forward and be flexible for our actors.
Thanks.
Yeah.
As you all know, there are requirements. Those requirements are 18 years and up, not because we don't recognize the incredible, tremendous amount of talent in this town of people who are under 18, but simply because of time and capacity, we only have a certain amount of slots. And so we're trying to benefit those over 18, knowing that those are under will be over 18 soon enough, and then they can join us. Actors must indeed be members of the Colorado Theater Guild. This is a membership benefit for both individual members and organizational members. And we do recognize that everyone does not always have $50 because life is expensive here in Colorado. Inflation is high, gas prices are high, food prices are high. So if you indeed do find out that you're qualified for a slot, but you do not have $50, we do have funding to be able to help so that you're able to say, hey, I can pay this amount, and we will be able to assist you with that. If you're a member of a union, we do ask that you disclose that, simply because there are tier 2 theaters who will not be able to work with you without getting a guest contract. They need to know that going in. So disclosing your union status is key. And in general, we want to make sure that actors are generally available to work throughout the year. It doesn't mean you can't get an amazing gig, which will make you not available, but we do know that if you work in another state or live in another state nine months of the year, just know that that means that after your audition, people are going to continue to email you because they want to see you and you're not going to be available, which can just cause some tension. So, there it is. In terms of the requirements for the unified auditions, basically actors have to have, they meet one of two criteria. Either one, you have 5 credits that were that happen outside of a school setting. So that's high school, college, community college, graduate school, outside of a school setting. You have those 5 credits, and pay for play doesn't count. So if you paid to be in a class, then you got to do a show. It's wonderful that you did it. It just doesn't qualify for the Unifieds. And or you've recently graduated. So if you've graduated in the last 2 years, then you do qualify, because if you were in school, you might not have been able to do shows outside of college. We really wanted to try to help the swath of people and producers in Colorado, but we also specifically wanted to help 3 demographics. 1, recent graduates. Anyone who's gone to college knows how incredibly expensive it can be, how much debt you can have, and the fact that you don't necessarily know any of the players. And so it gives you a chance to be seen. We also wanted to benefit members of the BIPOC community. Historically in Colorado, there's been a lot of marginalization for BIPOC members, and we want people to be able to meet you. If you're like me, you've heard producers say, oh, well, I would hire them if only I knew them. Well, now you get a chance. And then we also wanted to benefit members of the disabled community. Historically in Colorado also, disabled actors have not always had entry to all the theaters in Colorado. And I can tell you from personal experience, both from viewing and also getting to direct disabled actors, there is so much talent here. And if people were exposed, they have to choose to hire because the talent is there. So that is part of the plan behind why we have those designated groups. It does not allow, it doesn't mean others aren't also able to audition, but we specifically wanted to amplify and give opportunity to those 3 groups in addition. Thanks, Frank. All right, the process. So we have a group of people who are getting to screen your materials. All of the theater companies will get to see a digital copy of your headshot and resume. One of the things that we discovered, which we totally take the L for, is that we didn't give a sample resume. And so everybody kind of formatted it in their own style, which means that there are some people who've submitted who didn't list any of the theaters they worked for. It's really hard to be able to identify your credits if we don't know where you worked. Some people just said, I was Wendy in Peter Pan. And you're like, okay, but we don't know where. So there are times when people will get emails asking them to resubmit, including that information. And for all those who did submit, we might ask you all to format your resume in a particular way so that it becomes easy for theaters to be able to know what it is you've done and where you've done it. If you are wondering, do I have a slot? No one knows is the answer right now, but everyone will know next week. So those emails will go out next week, and you should have already got an email sent to you letting you know that that's happening. So if you are someone who submitted and you have heard absolutely nothing, please email us at unifieds@coloradotheaterguild.org.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yes, it's on the website.
It's on the website. Please, please, please send us an email, because what we do know is that we sent out a lot of emails all at once, and sometimes it didn't go through. So please know that it was not personal in any way. If you submitted, you should have received an email in the last week from us, just giving you a little bit of information. So if you heard from friends that they got the email and you didn't, it wasn't that disastrous audition kind of information where you've been typed out. It just means the email didn't go through. It either means that maybe we had a typo in your email address, or just the internet was being the internet. So please know that, and we will be emailing everyone one way or the other next week. Let's see, a couple other things from me. I've covered that. I think I'm good. You get to talk about parking and stuff like that.
That's going to be so fun. Parking. Yes, if you've ever been curious, parking can be challenging, especially if you have a Monday audition. Just make sure you're coming early. We are going to try to keep some slots available just for actors. We're asking our producers to not park in the curious lot, but it's a small lot, so come early if you can for parking. Check-in, we're hoping to check in actors if the weather is good in the parking lot. So there's it'll be an easy area. We don't know that for sure. And then there's a waiting room in the back where everybody will be able to sort of hang out before being routed onto the stage. We will have an ADA accessible ramp that'll be on the house left off the down right side of the curious stage for access. And as I said before, we're slotting actors in 1 hour slots. The time limit for the audition proper is 90 seconds. And we should note, we are letting actors kind of decide how they want to manage those 90 seconds. If you've got one amazing 90-second monologue, go for it. If you've got two contrasting monologues, you can do that. If you want to do a monologue and a song, that's awesome, but 90 seconds. We are asking for a very brief intro, so no big long slates with, letting us know what the play is about. Name and actor numbers, what we're asking for. And there should be places for the producers to access your audition material and other things about you online. So they'll be able to do that.
And I'll just add one thing in. The way that time works is the moment you begin to act, the time starts. So I just tell that because I know a lot of you craft it really beautifully. So just know that. So if you go ahead and you say your name and you say your number, and you begin acting, boom. And as you all know, acting can begin with or without words. So please know once you begin acting, that timer begins. And we really encourage you to practice your pieces and time it. I encourage you, just as a person who's done this on both sides, 90 seconds is what you have. I encourage you to have 80 seconds of material. It just allows you to be able to breathe. Yep. It allows you to be able to shift your pace. It allows you to be able to respond in a way that you don't if you've just crammed everything in right up into the second.
Yep, great advice. So 90 seconds doesn't count the introduction. And we will have a timer. That's not to be mean. It's just because we're going to have, we think, roughly 200 actors to process in those 2 days. So we'll want to move it along. There will be an accompanist. So you'll need to bring your music. If you are singing, we're asking for no pre-recorded music, no self-accompaniment, and no a cappella singing.
And it needs to be in the key that you are singing. The music has to be in the key. You can't say, here's my music, but I'd really like to do it in
the little things.
Yeah, don't do that.
There it is.
Yeah.
Excellent. We do have a list of the participating theaters, which, has gone a little up and down as people have looked at schedules. So do make sure you're double checking that so you know who is participating right now. We've got 37 theater companies from really all over the state, north and south, as well as, of course, Denver.
And mountains.
And mountains, absolutely. All right, we are transitioning on to our next section, best practices.
Oh, we need to let our Zoom friends know we are taking questions at the end.
Yep.
So apologies that we did not say that for y'all at the beginning. We said it at the original beginning. So we are happy to hold questions at the end. So please, please, please jot them down so you don't forget them. Know that we are happy to answer them at the end.
There it is.
Great.
All right.
Well, you can go ahead, David, to the next. Yep. For best practices. Now, these are things that I'm going to guess that a lot of people already know these, right? You've auditioned a lot, but however, it's always a good idea to refresh some new skills. You never know how many tools in your toolbox you're going to need. I think a really good practice for people to start off with is your mindset. As already discussed before, that how much directors really love actors and how much we want folks to do their best. A good mindset might be to think about, instead of you being the patient and we're the doctor, is that you're the doctor. We're the ones who have a problem. We have an illness. We need to get the right person to be cast in our shows. And the better we make those decisions, the better our plays are going to be, the more awards and kudos we all get. So instead of thinking yourself as being judged, think of yourself as the mindset that you're the doctor and we're the patient, and you're going to fix our problem for us. We want to be able to say, oh, good, Lisa Young is in the play. I got that problem solved. Another good mindset would be to have is that you get a chance to perform. Granted, it's only for 90 seconds, but it's a little chance for you to do a 90-second play that you are in control of, that you have agency over. In this world, especially today, you have, even though you may not get cast in a role, you have the ability to create your own opportunities. So please don't forget that you have, that you're the doctor, that you get a chance to perform, and that you have agency throughout the audition process. We want you to do your very best.
Agreed.
Can I tell someone one thing?
Yeah.
I think, especially if you've never done a combined audition like this, it's really important to know that very rarely will any producer cast someone from seeing them one time on the stage in 90 seconds. The point is for them to see you, to be able to say, I want to see more. That's really all you're doing, is you're giving us a snapshot of you so that we can say we want to see more. And then we put down something by your name to say we want to see you again. In some cases, if your type is really, really clear and we have a show that's a very clear type, we're like, boom, I want to see them for that. In other cases, they're just like, wow, I just like this performer. I want to see more. And so that's what happens. So the 90 seconds is really designed simply for you to allow us to get a little sampling. It's like the dessert menu, a little sampling of the wonder that is you, so that we will want more.
Yeah, I mean, I think my hope is that theaters that do a prelim audition, which is very similar to this setup where you're doing monologues, will invite some actors directly to callbacks, saving you the time and the gas money of that first trip. And obviously, once you're at callbacks, that we are really interested in you, and we know we can use you in the show. And I just want to say the stuff tonight, and this is true of any audition workshop you ever do, it's our opinion. Christy and I have sort of put this together based on our experience and our preferences. All directors have different preferences, so you're going to kind of manage that based on what your experience is, what you know. But we want to kind of give pointers based on what we've done. And I always say that because we're going to talk later about eye contact, which for 99% of all directors that I have talked to like it one way, but I did meet a director that likes it the other way. So there's always exceptions.
Material. I mean,
yeah.
How do you feel about that, Steve?
Well, I think you got to know both sides. So you want to know what pieces you are doing, and it sounds stupid, but you want to know your material really well. Don't just, if you're looking at those monologue books, and some of them are okay, but you want to make sure you've read the play. I mean, this is all very basic. Read the play, know what it is, know what your objectives are. Obviously, make sure you're memorized, because you have to put into the hopper that you're gonna be nervous on that day. There's other things going on. You can't just memorize it the night before. But I also think it's really important that you know the show you are auditioning for, where you can. If it's a brand new play and you don't know anything and you can't even Google it, then okay. But know what the play is. If you're gonna do a Shakespeare show, don't audition with some contemporary piece that has no connection or relation to classical theater. It doesn't have to be Shakespeare, but think about it. Right? Again, you don't have to wear cowboy boots for Oklahoma, but do think about what is my demeanor, what's my piece. So you have to know both things, both your pieces and the piece you're auditioning.
And to your point, you should also know who's going to be there at the audition, what directors and producers, if it's possible for you to know that. As Steve has said, different directors and producers will have different tastes. And as much as you can mine and research ahead of time, it's to your benefit because you can take that to your advantage. You can even ask the people who are making the appointments to give you some advice about who's actually going to be in the room. And you have a right, I feel, to know who's in the room.
Yeah, and I always say, I've said to actors, you are actually playing, if you're doing a monologue that's one monologue, you're playing two characters. You're playing a character in your monologue and you're playing yourself on a very good day. And maybe that'll be easy because maybe you are having a very good day, but maybe stuff's happened, you're late, or you're driving, or what, boyfriend or girlfriend or significant other broke up with you. You have to think about that from the moment you step in. Be nice to stage managers and people that are checking you in. There have been stories where stage managers will say, I know you want to cast this actor, but they were really mean they were nasty to other actors. Maybe it's not even with them. Be nice, be kind. We want you to be kind. We want you to be in our rehearsal rooms and be kind. Think about the whole experience from the moment you are coming through those doors until, you go.
Can I just add something?
Please.
A little different point of view than the way they just shaped about how you choose your pieces, because it can be a little nerve-wracking, right? Right now, there's 37 different companies. There'll probably be more. They are all very different. How are you supposed to choose your piece, right? That could be really nerve-wracking. I'm not saying that actors are ever neurotic. I'm just saying if we were, right? So I want to also just offer the alternative of, what you do well. So I would say, do what you love that you do well.
Which you should always do.
Always. But also just because if you're thinking about trying to serve 37 different theaters and their seasons, that can be really challenging.
Yes, don't do that.
Yeah. So above all things, pick something that you do well, something that showcases the magic and wonder that is you, something that you feel good about doing that isn't like there's going to be pressure inherent, right, in any audition. But really pick something that you love doing, because at the end of the day, you do get to control that, and you get to control those 90 seconds where you're like, I did that. So I just want to offer that as you're trying to figure out the different things. And to what Steve and good grief, Christy said, I think there's a lot of actors have, 5 or 10 monologues. You've done that work, you've got it all in your body. And that's where asking who's in the room can cause you to decide to reshuffle and say, you know what? These are the two I'm going to do. So you even have that potential. That's if you have that kind of bandwidth to have 10 in your head. Some people do with ease. Some people are like, 2 is all I'm going to have. So wherever you are, just know that, but really do something that moves you and really makes you feel good.
We've got about 15 minutes left. So, why don't we say we do a couple more best practices so we can get onto some questions and answers? Okay.
Absolutely.
We've already, Steve, you want to say anything more about what are some of the mistakes people make about memorization?
Well, not memorizing show pieces enough, making sure that you've done it before. You've had somebody else look at it. If you've got an acting teacher or a friend that you trust, it's great to have that experience. So you're rehearsing what might happen if someone's watching you.
Yeah, always a good idea to have somebody as an audience member,
Totally.
Whether it be another person in the theater or someone that whose opinion that respect. But even then, if you get feedback from somebody else, just take it out with a grain of salt and practice and do what's inside your heart. But make sure you practice it good and memorize a good 2 weeks ahead of time, don't you think?
Agreed. That's my basic rule. Yeah. Yes.
What do you think people should wear, Steve?
Think about what you're wearing. Again, neutral usually is good, although your own, your persona, what you want to project, especially in this situation for the combined audition. As Betty alluded to, obviously you don't know what the plays are. So you've got to think about what your vibe is.
Yeah, neutral is good.
But though. Neutral because you don't want your outfit to upstage your audition.
Yeah. And this is not the day to have a big turkey dinner. Nor should you decide like I'm going to really test that all you can eat buffet. Nor is it a good day to think, you know what, I'm not going to eat anything at all. Make sure you eat something, but make sure it's light and healthy.
Yep. Absolutely. And warm up. I'm sure you all have different warm ups, but make sure you're taking care of that. Curious isn't going to have separate like warm up rooms for everybody. So you want to make sure you've taken care of that before you get into the building. Vocal warm up, physical warm up, whatever you do. When I was an actor many years ago, I had a whole routine of working out and warm up and stretching and all of that. So do make sure you're attending to that.
And practice in the shoes you're gonna wear.
Well said.
That's a good point.
Yes.
And careful wearing big high heels.
Yeah.
Wear shoes that make you feel grounded. And then I think one element before we start getting into your monologues is when you do bring a resume in, a one page is always preferred. Make sure that the most important part of your resume are the names of the directors and the teachers with whom you've worked. I suggest putting in your most impressive credits at the top. There's no need to go chronologically. And then the biggest advice we have also for folks regarding resumes is be careful not to lie, because you will be found out. And then it tells us what kind of person and what we might expect in our rehearsal process. So,
and Denver's not a small, our region isn't small, but it's a pretty small theater community. Everybody knows everybody. So
yeah. And if you have
yes,
a lot of experience, that's okay.
yeah,
We've all started that way before, so there's no need that you have to embellish it at all. Let your talent shine through.
totally. Choosing pieces, and Betty talked a little bit about this. I call this the lifelong struggle because I don't think there's ever like,
Sure.
oh, I have the piece that I will use forever. I think you should always be, be a scholar, be a life learner, that you're always looking for that piece that, as Betty said, connects to you. I don't care about any other thing, but if you have a passion for it, I mean, you can, yes, there are monologues that are overdone for sure, but I always go back to when I was an actor, I did a couple of monologues that were really overdone because I loved them. And I ended up generally doing them well. So
If
that can
good,
also
I
make
don't
it.
care.
Yeah, agree.
Right? Yeah. Also consider when you're selecting a monologue about what the journey of the character is. It's vital to answer the question, how is the character changed from the very beginning of the monologue to the end? And if that monologue doesn't have a journey, you should identify one or consider changing your selection.
Yeah, again, like Chrissy said before, the idea that you're doing a one-person show is awesome. Think about all the things that you do in a rehearsal for a play. You're thinking about characters, you're thinking about what's my objective in each beat of the play. Think about what does your monologue do for you? How is the character different 90 seconds later from when you started to when you end? Which connects to that central thing for acting, which is what is my objective? What do you want? Again, there are a lot of different schools, but objective's pretty universal. So think about that. Don't just read it and be like, I'm a character. Objective. You got to be pursuing something to make it act.
Our preference is that you perform monologues from published plays, not your own material or material that you get out of a monologue book. If you are doing a famous monologue, you can consider how cutting it can make it more original. It's totally fine and acceptable to cut monologues, to piece pieces together and cut the dialogue out if you want to. Creative cutting can turn an old monologue into something really kind of new and dynamic. So you can use your imagination.
Agreed, which is another thing about kind of looking at the play, like looking at the arc of what's happening in that scene where the monologue happens, unless it's a set, a standalone monologue. Order is super important. This is my biggest question that I get. Do your strongest piece first. Most directors are going to make a decision about you in roughly 10 to 15 seconds. I know that sounds weird. And usually that's not, oh, they're cast. It's usually, they are really, Betty Hart, really interesting. I definitely want to see her callbacks. And then I've got to go on to the sort of the next actor. But always lead with your best. Some actors think, well, I want to put a period on the end and do the end, my biggest thing at the end. No, lead with your best piece.
And then make sure that your monologue is active. A good active monologue will have a character relating to another character. Make sure that you've crafted yourself some active verbs. I want to blank, him, her, or they. When you have an active connection, that makes your monologue more interesting.
Yeah, and you're going to find active monologues when you cut them out of a scene of a play, which is generally preferable. But you're also going to find, you know, if you're an actor that kind of goes through and looks, oh, there's a big chunk, you know, all the world's a stage. Those are going to be story monologues, and you have to be careful with those. They can work, but you need to make sure that the story is active. You're making it active. So when I teach young actors, I'm always saying it's like you're reliving the story. You're not like, okay, once upon a time, you know, Goldilocks. No, you're like, okay, once upon a time, Goldilocks, you know, went into the. You are reliving what happened, at least emotionally, so that you're taking us on that journey with that story.
I would also just add, because some people will 100% do a film monologue because they've read the text and it speaks to them and it's a plan that you have. And what I will say is that can work. Simply remember that if you are choosing an iconic film moment, the moment you begin saying it, you allow us to go back to the first time we saw it. And so we are also thinking about that moment. And so if you aren't doing something that is distinct and unique that causes us to stay focused on you, we will have a wonderful time during your 90 seconds going, I really do love that performer. And you want us to be thinking about you. So just be careful if you choose something from a film or
Violet
even
Davis is so great.
right? Or something that's on Broadway right now. Like, just make sure you really do make it your own if you pick something that is one of those iconic pieces.
You know, one of my favorite aspects of auditioning where I can really get inside an actor's mind and what their thought process is how they transition from one piece to the other. It's sort of like I've crafted like a 90-second little mini play or a cabaret. And I love how actors make conscious choices. So think about if you're doing two pieces. First of all, we love contrasting pieces. So pick two pieces that are very different from each other that show a lot of different aspects of you and your talent. But then think about how you want to transition from one to the other. Does it involve a little bit of movement? Does it mean you sit down? How does your focus change? I learn a lot about the artistry of an actor when I see how they transition.
I agree. And again, if you think of the rehearsal of the whole thing from your introduction, which is part of your rehearsal, I used to, when I would teach acting, I used to have students do their introduction, and it's amazing how many people like forget their name or you're nervous. So rehearse all of that. You're going to do your introduction, which is very brief. You're going to transition into your monologue. And remember, how you rehearse that transition is kind of your warm-up for going into your piece, whatever that means, as well as the transition between the two.
And I'll just add, you can do a lot with the transitions. You can also do something really simple, like breathing.
Yep.
Just breathing between the two pieces as a reset for yourself. It's simple and it's also effective. So you can craft in large ways, but you can also craft in really simple ways.
Nice.
Yep, absolutely. I completely agree. I think the key thing we don't love is when you break the character. So if I finish my monologue, oh, okay, good, I'm done with that one. Okay, now I'm getting up for the second one. It's like we want that. We want it to bleed, that to be seamless through that. Chair, some directors disagree with me. I like counseling actors to use a chair because you can have a chair in your basement or your apartment or your house or whatever, and you can base your blocking, such as it is, around that. And you'll almost always, and in this audition, you will have access to a chair. It sometimes can be grounding too, because you're going to be in a space you're not used to traditionally. So that can just help you to orient what you're going to do.
And I would just add on though, I would recommend not doing both your pieces in the chair.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that we can see what you look like when you're standing up and see how grounded you are. I have seen a lot of people auditioning and they will apologize. Did you ever get that at all? And I wish people realized how, one, we want you to do really great, and there's no need to apologize. There's no need to apologize about anything. We are the patient and you are the doctor. So you don't need to make excuses or apologize. I think the only reason would be to do it is if you are legitimately ill and you
especially if you're singing. Yeah, if you're singing and your voice isn't at its best, I don't mind if someone lets me know.
And you don't want to miss the opportunity.
Right.
Right. then that would be the only reason why I would say you need to
Yep.
say you're sorry.
So focal points, I'll try to make this very quick. The key thing for me in watching an audition is that an actor is sending their energy out over where I am. So if I'm here, if I am acting out this way, I am taking focal points that are essentially in this area here. So I'm never talking to my friend in the chair and closing off. I am sending my energy out. Now, I might need several focal points for whatever the piece is, but the idea is you're pushing your energy. So I feel your energy coming through me and I am affected by, what it is that you're doing.
But you don't need to look at the.
Right. Again, this was right. This is the place where I did find a director that loved actors looking them in the eye.
Especially if you do immersive.
There it is. But 99% of directors do not want you to look them in the eye. So if you've rehearsed your piece and you feel like you need a partner, minimum you would ask, but our job is to evaluate you so that we can use you in our seasons or call you back for the next play. For me, because I love actors and I used to be an actor, so I want to help you. I want to engage and look at you and be your acting partner. But if I'm doing that, I'm not doing my job of saying, oh my gosh, Christy's amazing. I want her to be, this role, or definitely want to call her back.
It's a lot of pressure to be somebody's acting partner.
Usually you're finding the focal point in the back of the room, or if you need multiple points to play your piece to.
And to Betty's point about the importance of breathing, which I just really love that you said that, Betty, that's called the moment before technique. And as Betty said, your time doesn't start in the Unifieds until after your introduction, we start acting. But the best thing you can do is to just take a breath, take a moment. Don't feel like you have to rush right into your monologue or rush right into your transition. Allow yourself a transition, but give yourself a moment to breathe.
Yep. We said this, rehearse your introduction. How are we doing on time? We good? Yeah.
We're at 8.
Great.
We can call it there.
We
and
can
do some questions.
Sure.
But I think it might be nice if you even want to talk about bold and creative, Steve.
You bet. Again, this exercise we call theater is actually all about collaboration in my mind. I love collaborating with my actors and having a rehearsal room where I'm listening to actors, listening to designers, that we're all coming together to make something together, not director making big decisions and I'm the one in charge. We want creative people. Be bold, be creative, have fun. That's the key to auditioning. It is easier said than done. I totally get it. I know you're going to be nervous, but bold and creative is like the jam.
And we have time for some questions from folks. For all our Zoomies, you can raise your hand and we can get some questions in. And David, just let us know when you've got some questions, we can introduce those in.
Yeah.
But are there any questions at all from our audience?
That's what we made you.
Hi, go ahead.
Sweet.
So I am definitely a vocalist first. I've done a lot of classical and pin belt. And so I was kind of wondering, it is shorter, right? And just kind of trying to figure out what my best option is for that. And if I could even find a good, like 16-bar section, I guess, of like 2 different songs even, and if that would be okay.
Well, you know what, my gut is, I would pick a belt. That would be, if you're gonna go classical.
But is your
I'd pick a
question
belt,
2
right?
songs as opposed to a song and a monologue?
I mean, even if it were, 2 songs or a song monologue, or even just being able to do, here's a quick clip of a classical piece, here's a quick clip of a belt piece. And here's the monologue, and still, of course, making sure to keep it within 80 seconds.
I'll just say, if you can do both, sing and act, you get more benefits that way. Because that means anybody in the room who has musicals or plays can consider you. If, however, you're an artist who knows all I want to do is sing, that is who I am. I am a singer. then give us two great songs that are contrasting. Think of it the exact same way we talked about the monologues. 100%.
Yep, I agree.
In the back. Oh, what a
Good
great
question.
That's a great question.
That's a great
So
question.
let's repeat it. The question for everyone on Zoom is, what is our take on accents?
Yes, well, you want to start or you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that my preference would be no accent. However, if your piece has an accent, you should be a master at it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what I would say. Generally, the audition advice is don't ever do accents, but just because, you know, although in some cases plays are set with certain accents,
If it's a callback.
but if you do it really well, and it fits the piece and you love it, that it can work.
For these general, if it was a callback though, and
Yeah.
I'm looking for an Irish accent,
Yep.
oh, I want to hear your Irish accent.
And I'll just add this, sometimes, and I certainly was guilty of it when I was newer in my craft, I substituted accent for acting. And so if I'm doing something and I just put an accent on it, I'm not acting, then I'm just doing that. So if the piece is a piece that you love, that showcases the brilliance and wonder of you, and it gives you something clearly that you want to go after, and that there's an arc, and it happens to have an accent that is in your wheelhouse, more power to you. The question that I would ask is the accent essential? Is there a compelling reason why you're doing it? Or are you choosing to
Right.
do it as this will differentiate me? Because chances are it won't differentiate you as much as you would like. So if there isn't a compelling reason, you may not. Again, if it is what you do, you're brilliant at it. Nobody is better than you. Let's go.
Yeah,
Great question.
yeah, really good question.
I have the online ones when you're ready.
Okay, why don't we do one online one?
And then we'll get you.
Okay.
Thanks, Lisa.
Sure. So this is from Gandia. I missed the submission deadline and I just sent my headshot resume. Will I possibly receive submission consideration as a BIPOC member? Thank you.
We can't completely answer that question. We have, maybe. So if she sent it in, that's great. I am trying to manage. We've had lots of last minute requests, so it'll be a little bit about time and all of that, but we're going to try.
Thank you.
Thanks. There's a question back there. Hi.
My question, Senator, I missed the
Oh.
information about. submission
Maybe.
deadlines. Just curious when that was.
The submission deadline was the 17th,
Okay,
so it's passed.
yeah. Yes.
Sorry.
Hi, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to hear your advice on when we choose some of these classic and or highly recognized monologues. You know, everyone says, don't do that, they're so great.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to do that. And I know a lot of the Colorado community is really dedicated to the integrity of playwrights. Unlike in some other cities where it's more about how can you deconstruct something or do it completely backwards instead of different and modern. So since there's 30-something theater companies, in terms of depends on their space, but in terms of best practices, what would you all recommend for that?
I want to start.
Yeah, go for it.
Choose the piece that you love, that you can bring to life in a brilliant, bold, wonderful way. And do not let anything stop you, period, is what I would
That's
say.
nice.
Really, because in Colorado, there are so many theaters, and there are theater companies that are purists, and there are theater companies that are deconstructing everything, and there's everything in between. There's no way for you to know how it's going to land. What I will say is there are pieces that are on the list of never do. If you choose one of those and you happen to be listening before and you go, oh, they just did my piece and they did it better, shift, right? So have something in your back pocket so you have room and flexibility, because I can tell you on the other side, there really isn't anything worse than the 8th time you've heard the same piece and nothing is happening. It's really hard to stay engaged, even if we want to, because our brains are just going, I've done this already. So know that as you're making your choices. and make sure that the choices in your piece are going to cause us to say, wait a second, there's a reason to reinvest.
That's great.
Yeah, I agree.
Can we make sure that online?
Yeah, online.
So this is from Maya, 2 questions. One, just to confirm that we have access to a chair to use.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
probably one of these.
they're modeling them now.
That's right.
2, for our slate, should we include the pieces we will perform after name and after number?
Not in this situation.
Correct. And we're gonna be reinforcing some of those specifics in an email to all actors that will be, all actors that will be accepted to the audition. So we'll be reinforcing that, but the answer to that is no. We want name, actor number, that's it. And that's really about us moving forward the auditions. And you should have the ability to let us know what your pieces are in the waiting room. The stage manager will take that down. So we will be able to access, producers will be able to access that information.
I would add on though, in a general audition that's separate from the unified, you are often asked
Yes.
to introduce yourself, to slate yourself with your name and your pieces. And my suggestion would be to do that in the beginning and not in between your pieces for other audition purposes.
Yes, I agree. Yep, that you do your kind of intro before and then transition from piece 1 to piece 2, but not for the.
Can we go back to online? Just get 2 questions in before we go to you back.
I might have another question, all right?
Those were the 2.
Oh, okay.
I'm here on behalf of Logan Custer. I'm here on behalf of the theater. I was wanting to hear a bit about the structure of it bounced. So they started typing. The structure of the days from the perspective of a producer director.
Great. Thank you for that question. The structure will be that all producers will have a call time to be able to get here into the theater. You'll get a lot of advanced information through email in advance. Producers will be bringing their laptops in so that you can access all of the auditionees' pictures and resumes and be able to take notes. And we will see a series of performers per hour. Connie Lane, our incredible stage manager, will also build in breaks so that you can stretch, you can eat, you can move, you can use the bathroom. And that's kind of how it will happen. So all of that the detailed information of what you're seeking will be sent to you at a later point in time, but that's the generals.
Yep, well said.
Right.
Just curious, traditionally I can get 3 minutes for an audition, why do you have that?
Oh.
I can say for unified auditions, actors don't traditionally, oh, so sorry, repeating the question. Traditionally, actors get 3 minutes for auditions. Why are we cutting it in half? And for unified auditions, there's anything from 60 seconds to 3 minutes. Most of them land in the 90 seconds. And the simple reason for the 90 seconds is to be able to accommodate as many actors as possible, because that's why we're here. We want as many actors to be seen as possible.
And the more detailed time would be obviously if you get asked to go to the callbacks. And in some cases, producers might just say, hey, I loved you. I'd like you to audition for this particular place. So you might have to go do your possibly longer prelim slate, in advance for those specific pieces when you get there. But yeah, it's really literally all about volume. We're hoping to process roughly 200 actors in 2 sort of 7-hour days.
Lisa, are there more online?
There are.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the next one online comes from Mary, and Mary asked, could we get a copy of the theaters attending before?
Yes, you can get it right now. If you go onto our website, that it is available. It's available on
If you click on the auditions, it's in there.
Yeah.
Is it on the Unified? Because I already dropped it.
It is on the Unifieds. I can't remember whether it's on the first page. I'm not sure where she put it, but it is definitely there. Yes. And it was, we had a slide in the presentation that has all 37 theaters.
Unifieds.coloradotheaterguild.org.
Yeah, I just don't know which page
Yeah, I'm
she
looking
put
now. I'll find it.
the link on.
I'll find it.
But yes, it's there, and I'm updating that in real time. So if anybody drops out or if we get new, because theater producers didn't have a deadline, so we could conceivably have producers joining us last minute. Yeah, the other thing we should say is, we don't know exactly that every single producer will be there every single hour of the audition, because theater producers have got rehearsals and other things going on. So,
Good point.
yeah, just a disclaimer.
Abner, did you have a question?
Yes, will there be an opportunity to dig deeper or like a callback situation or more auditions that you?
Yeah, there's going to be another workshop.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, will there be an opportunity for a
Deeper dive.
deeper dive into auditioning, like, well, how to handle a callback? And there are plans to have a callback audition workshop that will happen in, is that May, right? June, happening in June. So stay tuned.
There it is.
Alicia?
Yes, the next one is, I'll give you two, because I think one is a really quick one. Will any theaters have callbacks the same day as auditions?
Not that I am aware of. That would be silly, but
Well-
we are not our producers keepers, so we don't know, but I don't think so.
The next one is, I know you mentioned to use our monologues from published plays, but do you think monologues from one acts are a bad idea?
Oh,
And that's from Amanda.
No,
yeah,
no, as long as, I mean, again,
I want it to be a published.
you
play.
gotta always go back to what Betty said, which is absolutely the most important advice. Do something you love. Most theater producers, myself included, and directors, don't love to see you do something from a movie or a cutting from a book. Again, we're not gonna, there's no hard and fast rules, but you're auditioning to be in a play or musical. So I like to see something from a play or a musical, which is kind of what, where you're going. So that's just general best practices. You know, if you've got a cutting from a book that's amazing and incredible and you do well and it's great, great acting will cut through all of it. We will, you know, if you're great, we'll evaluate you as great.
We got time maybe just for a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up and head to our mixer.
Yes.
Hi, sir.
I just want to add, it's a repeat of something we said earlier. If I did not hear last week that you had received my submissions and anticipate hearing if I get a slot or not, what do I do? Because I did not hear.
Thank you for asking that question. The question was,
Just email
we
us.
mentioned at the top that everyone who submitted should have received an email last week. And we did say that we have heard that some people did not receive that email. So the question was, what do you do if you didn't get the email? What we would say is just email us at unifieds@coloradotheaterguild.org so that we can reach you. Thank you for letting us know. And yeah, internet, what do you do? But yes, every single person should have gotten an email. We sent it to everyone. Whether you received it or not is of course the part we can't control. So please let us know so that we can make sure that you get the information that was sent out last week.
Is like the email that I received for the workshop? Is that the same? email?
No, workshop's different.
You might want to check for spam since it's. a
Yep,
fairly new
could be
email.
spam. Yeah, but if you just send an individual email, then that's easy. I can just send you a copy of what we sent and we'll make sure everyone's good.
Yeah, and just to make it even simpler, if you send an email to the email address that you got this, the workshop information, Shannon will forward it to us. So you don't have to work super hard. We are happy to accommodate.
Thank you.
Okay, I think on behalf of all of
I
us.
have one,
Okay, well,
Okay.
one last
Okay.
one.
last one here.
Can we submit a new headshot or resume before the audition?
Yes.
Sure.
Answer or ask,
Sure.
repeat the question.
Yeah, can you submit a new headshot or resume before the audition? Again, the best way to do that would just be to email us with that new submission and we will get it in the folder.
Can you confirm that we're going to send out the slide deck to everyone?
Sure. Absolutely. We will send out the slide deck, which has kind of bullet points for all the things we talked about and more tonight, because we had to move things quickly. And thank you everybody for your patience. And we'll try to get all that out to you ASAP.